The League of Women Voters is, like the NAACP, an organization devoted to registering voters, educating voters, and encouraging voting. We are non-aligned politically, although the organization does take positions on matters such as education, community welfare, or the environment. We are very careful to provide education to voters about the varying positions of different candidates who are seeking positions. And these are the candidates that they will see on their ballot. Our members may have many varied personal political opinions, but we are not aligned with a political party, and we believe it is most respectful to the voters to present their choices and to urge them to vote. Tonight's event is designed to do just that, to present candidates to the voters. Every candidate for every contested race in the region has been invited to this event. The candidates here today have accepted the invitation. For the first part of the evening, 2 sets of candidates for county board seats, which is the member district 24 and 26, will introduce themselves for 2 minutes each. And I'll take it in by race. So this will be true of the first 2 candidates and then the next 2 candidates. They will introduce themselves for 2 minutes and then answer questions which I will read to each candidate. Now, these questions have been chosen for fairness and policy focus by a group of League and NAACP members. We aren't interested in anything personal, we're interested in policy. If you have a card with a question to be read or to be considered to be read, please raise your hand. I think they've been passed in pretty well. Good. Candidates, for each question, you will be given 2 minutes to respond, and then 1 minute for rebuttal after the other candidate has answered for anything you just thought of. Please spend your time revealing your position and plans. We're most interested in each candidate just talking about their own plans, their own positions. Thank you. The timers, the lovely timers, will show you when you have when you have 1 minute to go, when you have 30 seconds to go, and then when your time is up and you should really wrap it up. To be polite. For the second part of the program, after the intermission, candidates for County Board Member Districts 22, 23, and 25, and candidates for representative in the Illinois General Assembly 111th and 112th representative districts will each be given up to 5 minutes to introduce themselves and their policy plans. Only the first part of the evening will be taped to be presented in its entirety on the League of Women Voters Edwardsville area Facebook page. No other taping is permitted tonight. We are only allowed now by league rules to tape events where both candidates are present. We used to tape all the events, but that has changed, and it wasn't our decision. Additional information about candidates' opinions can be found on the voter guide for the League of Women Voters Illinois, and that can be found at illinoisvoterguide.org. If you wonder which county board district you are in, you can look on your voter card to determine your county board district, but also you can go to Madison Votes, which is Madison County, or you can go to illinoisvoterguide.org and put in your address, and your candidate will pop up for you. There are 3 statewide advisory questions on your ballot, as well as a countywide advisory referendum, as well as 3 judges seeking retention in office. So we haven't prepared positions on these questions. Generally, if we're going to address a question, we have to have speakers pro and con, and we haven't prepared positions. If anyone is curious about what those will be, I can read them to you or show them to you, or again, you can find them in these two locations that I just mentioned. Okay, let's get started. I am going to begin with County Board Member District 24. I'll first begin with Cheryl Hagerty and give her 2 minutes to present herself to the voters. It should be on.
Can you hear me? Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cheryl Hagerty, and I am running for the County Board seat for District 24. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy day to come and hear the candidates speak. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the NAACP for holding this public forum this evening. My husband Bill and I moved to Edwardsville when I retired as a middle school teacher. As an educator, I had the honor of being elected to several leadership roles. I was a language arts department chair and lead union representative for Hadley Junior High School in Glen Ellen, Illinois. These positions demanded a high level of effective communication and interpersonal skills. As the voice for my fellow educators, it was my responsibility to ensure that their opinions and concerns were heard. I also took on the role of being a good listener, engaging with the needs and concerns of parents, teachers, and staff alike. This responsibility taught me the value of empathy and the importance of creating a collaborative environment. In my capacity as a leader, I was proactive in researching and supporting educational programs and standards that best served our students. Every initiative was grounded in evidence-based practices to foster an enriching learning environment. The programs implemented addressed the immediate educational needs and laid a strong foundation for the future success of our students. Now, as I consider the opportunity to serve as a county board member, I am committed to applying the same level of diligence and thoroughness. I plan to engage in comprehensive research to identify and promote outcomes that will be beneficial for the residents of Madison County. It is essential to me that these outcomes reflect the diverse needs of our community. As a union leader, I understand how essential it is to work with all individuals, including those with differing viewpoints. Different perspectives can foster richer discussions and lead to more comprehensive solutions. As a county board member, I will maintain an open mind, welcoming all ideas from my peers and recognizing the importance of respecting their opinions. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Cheryl Hagerty. The next candidate for County Board Member District 24 is Fred Schulte, who will now present himself to the voters.
Hi, I'm Fred Schulte, the Republican candidate for County Board District 24. Thank you first to the League of Women Voters and the Edwardsville branch of the NAACP for hosting this forum. I appreciate the work you do in the committee or in the community, and thank you for your service. I am running for County Board because I love Edwardsville and I love Madison County, and this is a chance for me to give back to the community that has been very good to me and my family. As a lifelong resident of Edwardsville, I grew up right here on Main Street above the donut shop, a business my parents ran for nearly 40 years. While I was still in high school, I started working at another business right here on Main Street, Edwardsville Frozen Foods. I eventually bought that business with a business partner and ran the business for 37 years. The business taught me value of hard work. It taught me to keep an eye on the bottom line, 2 skills I can bring to the county board. But most importantly, I've learned how to listen to people and work together to accomplish goals. I took that experience and applied it to my 20 years on the Edwardsville Township Board, 17 as Township Clerk and 3 as Township Supervisor. I am proud of our accomplishments there. I think we need more of this on the county board, more listening and more working together. I look forward to this opportunity and thank you all for coming out tonight and giving the candidates a chance to be heard.
Thank you. That was Fred Schulte. I'm going to try to go back and forth, so I'm going to direct the first question to you, Fred, and then it will go to Cheryl, excuse me. Okay, here's the question. What is your position on the advisory referendum from the board that will be on the ballot, allowing the board to correspond with other boards about separating from Cook County to form a new state?
Well, if I was on the county board, I wouldn't have voted for it. I wouldn't have.
Okay. Anything more?
That's my answer.
Okie doke. Well, you haven't used all 2 minutes, but you answered the question, and that's good.
Quality, not quantity.
And Cheryl, so pardon me about your name. Same question. What is your position on the advisory referendum from the board that will be on the ballot, allowing the board to correspond with other boards about separating from Cook County to form a new state?
I would not have voted for it as well. I question the rationale behind dedicating our time and resources to non-binding referendums. These initiatives often consume valuable discussions and energy that could be better spent on actionable plans and decisions. A case in point is the recent debate surrounding the potential succession from Cook County. I firmly believe that the time invested in that discussion was largely unproductive because the state would never approve it, and we received needed revenue from Cook County. So instead of fostering meaningful conversation, it seemed to detract from more pressing issues that require our attention and our collective effort. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, the next question I'm going to address first to Cheryl. Cheryl, Madison County has been given $2.5 million in taxpayer COVID money to build a non-congregate homeless shelter. According to the state of Illinois, non-congregate shelter refer to emergency accommodations that offer privacy to individuals and families. They provide private units or rooms as temporary shelter and do not require occupants to sign a lease or occupancy agreement. Where would you suggest the county place the shelter, and who do you think should run it?
So originally, the Red Cross submitted a plan, and it was opposed because there was a change. So I have researched the Madison County Partnership to End Homelessness. I learned that the county offers warming and emergency shelters, but a non-congregate option is currently missing. So these temporary housing units for a shortened length of stay, like 1 or 2 months, there is a need for the non-congregate shelters, that's especially important for women and children because it offers private rooms and more stability for families. The $2.5 million allocated by the American Rescue Plan presented a promising opportunity. The Salvation Army proposal for a shelter in Alton with its existing land ownership and proximity to a high-needed population seemed like a viable solution. Unfortunately, the proposal was denied due to the new NOFA, which is a notice for funding opportunity, restricting the shelter within 5 miles, unless it's 5 miles from the county administration building. So the rationale behind this location restriction remains unclear, but this restriction caused a delay in addressing the current urgent need for non-congregate shelter options in areas like Alton, Grant City, and Collinsville. So those would be my options, those different towns.
Thank you. Fred Schulte, I'd like you to answer the same question. Madison County has been given $2.5 million in taxpayer COVID money to build a non-congregate homeless shelter. According to the state of Illinois, non-congregate shelters refer to emergency accommodations that offer privacy to individuals and families. They provide private units or rooms as temporary shelter and do not require occupants to sign a lease or occupancy agreement. Where would you suggest the county place the shelter, and who do you think should run it?
Well, I know when I was at the township, we would get homeless people in all the time, and we would put them up for 3 or 4 nights usually. And I really kind of think if the townships would get some of that money that they could expand their services. And then the townships could kind of take it over. That's it.
So you feel this township would be a good choice to run it?
Yeah, that's kind of what township government's for.
Okay. Does anyone want their 1 minute of rebuttal?
I just want to, I guess I'm not really clear if the money that's allocated for the county would actually be given to the township. So I'm not sure how that would work, if they would end up losing that money or not. So that's something I would have a question on.
And I don't have the answer to that. Did you want another minute?
I don't have an answer for that either.
Okay. Someone knows, but I'm not that someone. Okay. Thank you. I like this brief and honest answers. What a refreshing thing. Okay, I'm going to start. Let's see, this time Fred. What changes or improvements would you bring to the county board?
Well, probably the first thing I'd bring is trying to work together. That's a big thing in trying to get things done. There's middle ground everywhere. You know, if you kind of watched that debate last night, you seen that there's a lot of middle ground there that just gets passed over a lot of times. If people can have common sense and a little sensibility, they can give up on their own priorities and do what's best for the people. That's what we're getting elected for, is for the people, not for us.
Thank you. And Cheryl, what changes or improvements would you bring to the county board?
County officials need to prioritize transparency to promote an informed community. Our Madison County residents can be more empowered if communication on the goals and objectives of plans and programs and financial activities are clearly defined and accessible to all residents. Also, the county needs to establish measurable criteria for success so that residents can gauge the effectiveness of these programs. This type of transparency is important for building trust within the community. I am suggesting we develop a strategic plan that actively involves the community members in the decision-making process. And this collaborative approach will help create a shared vision and common goals that reflect the needs of all Madison County residents. One successful example of this collaborative effort can be observed in the health department's implementation of a 4-year health plan. This plan was significantly informed by the feedback gathered from residents, showing their commitment to community concerns. In addition to the health department's initiative, I researched other counties to identify best practices in strategic planning and community engagement. DuPage and McHenry County serve as positive models. Both of these resources display their respective plans in a single, easily accessible format on their web pages. This allows residents to readily access important information, and by adopting similar strategies, Madison County could enhance its own transparency efforts, ensuring that residents remain informed and involved in the government process. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody want an extra minute for rebuttal? Okay, the next question I think starts with you, Cheryl. How would you assess the Madison County Board's recent functioning? For example, and I think you already mentioned this, you're good at guessing what we might ask. What is your position on the time the Madison County Board spends on voting on non-binding resolutions?
Okay, I'm going to make this one very short. I think the time is not really valuable. We need to have these measured goals. So as a teacher, And as an educator, working with my peers, we develop what we call SMART goals and rubrics for students. So it has to be specific. What is the specific outcome and who will do it? How will outcomes be measured? Is the outcome realistic? No. And set up for success? No. Does the outcome make sense and fit the purpose? No. What is the specific timeline for completion? It will never have a timeline because it will never come to fruition. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Fred Schulte, how would you assess the Madison County Board's recent functioning? And a sort of sub-question, what is your position on the time that County Board spends on voting on non-binding resolutions?
Well, I would say that most of the time they spend on it's a waste of time. You know, I'd like to see them go away. I kind of know why they got them, but there's just no reason to have them.
How do you feel like the county board, how do you assess how they're doing recently in the county board?
The dealings, I think that after the primary election that the county board will run better, just with the new elected officials that are coming in. I think you'll see more working together.
Okay, nobody needs a rebuttal to that. Okay, this time we have an additional question because you guys have been so succinct and so on point that you get another bonus question.
Yay.
I'm going to start, Fred. Evidence-based funding ensures that as new state dollars become available, they flow first to school districts that need them most. How will you work to improve funding to schools in our region? I think Fred's first.
Okay.
Read that question again.
Okay. Evidence-based funding ensures that as new state dollars become available, they flow first to school districts that need them most. That as school districts' monies become available, they flow first to the school districts that need them most. How would you work to improve funding for schools in our region?
You know, I'd have to check in on that a little bit.
Okay.
I'm really not, I know how the school or the school board's funded, but you know, I know kind of where the money goes, but I just don't know too much about that.
Okay, that's okay. Do you want to pass on that answer?
Yes.
Okie doke. And Cheryl, evidence-based funding ensures that as new state dollars become available, they flow first to school districts that need them most. How will you work to improve funding to schools in our region?
I kind of agree with Fred. There's really not a lot of information out there. Looking at that county board page and going through all the meeting minutes, it really wasn't very transparent in how money was designated for the school board. But I'll tell you, or for the district, but I'll tell you what I would not do is that PTEL. There was a year of, which is a property tax exemption, one source of it. And after a year of doing, creating a subcommittee and reviewing this PTEL, board members learned that an unintended consequence of PTEL was to force school district to borrow the maximum amount of money, even though it was not needed, so they could have the funds once PTEL was passed. And also penalized school districts that did not borrow large amounts of money because they won't have access to additional funds. I guess what I would try to do is look at different grant programs that would add to the different district. And Jackie Day and I recently went to the Watershed fundraiser, which is promoting programs for students in 4th grade. So I would look for those different areas that would actually promote educational programs for our students.
Thank you, and thank you, both of you. I'm sure that neither of you needs any rebuttal time. I'd like to thank you so much for addressing our questions directly and without a lot of added, unnecessary flourishes. Thank you very much, and we really appreciate your time. Now we'll move to the next county board race pair of candidates. I'm going to name them as they're seated, but I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves in the opposite order as the first pair, just in my humble efforts to give everybody the fair shot. Gosh, what am I doing? Okay, sorry, excuse me. Jacqueline, called Jackie Day, is the Democratic candidate for County Board Member District 26, and Jason Palmero is the incumbent and the candidate for County Board Member District 26. I'm going to let Jason begin by introducing himself to the voters for 2 minutes.
This is my 4th time here, so I want to thank League of Women Voters once again and the NAACP. I always love coming out here, and everybody's always very nice, and I know I'm the Republican here, but it's everybody's still always nice and warm here. I will say that you are completely welcome. I just mentioned earlier that if you don't see me here 1 year down the road, hopefully, it's not because I didn't want to be here. Something actually happened, right? So I'm always going to be here. If anybody has known me, I was one of the newer elected county board members. This was less than 2 years ago, and I was raised in Glen Carbon. Went to Edwardsville, lived in Edwardsville for a little while as well, but pretty much have been here since middle school. I think got here in like 7th grade. Other than that, the only time I've been gone is when I served in the military. I was active duty with the U.S. Navy, came home for a little while, and then was active duty again with the U.S. Coast Guard. By the time we got out, we had grandkids, so those, if we didn't move back home, there was going to be some upset grandparents, right? So, no, we wanted to move home, back home here, and found a great place in Glen Carbon, and we have been here ever since. I love my community. I am a realtor. My wife is in the nursing home industry, and we love seniors, veterans, and we have 2 children as well. And so one of the big things for me is our kids and our community, and that's why I ran last time, and that's why I'm running again. And I love serving everybody throughout. I know my district's mainly Glen Carbon and 26, but I love serving everybody in Madison County. Thank you.
And now, Jackie Day, the other candidate for County Board Member District 26.
Thank you. So first, I would like to thank the NAACP and the League of Women Voters, both the Edwardsville chapters. I don't know about you, but personally, I have had issues in the past trying to figure out the stances of our local candidates for office and where they stand on issues that are important to me and important to our community. So this is a wonderful forum, and I think we would all agree that we really appreciate having this opportunity to introduce ourselves and to get to meet some of you too. So thank you very much to both of you, both organizations. Also, thank you to my opponent for your service, first of all, but also for being here. I really appreciate it. I think this is the way democracy should work. So thank you. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go fast. My name is Jackie Day, and I am the Democratic candidate for County Board 26, which is primarily Glen Carbon. After achieving degrees in biology and chemistry up in Michigan, my husband and I moved down here about 20 years ago for me to further my career as a scientist at Pfizer. We didn't know anybody down here, so we very quickly became involved in our church with local volunteer opportunities and various clubs. And then in 2012, we were blessed to have our daughter and learn just what an amazing community this is to raise your children. So we're very happy to be here. I've always been interested in politics because I do think that that has a lot of effect on our day-to-day lives, whether we realize it or not. But I never considered myself as a political candidate until I had a friend ask me to run for library board 2 years ago. And through that process of running, campaigning, and then after being elected, I was able to meet a lot of people in the community and hear a lot of diverse opinions and learn what's important to our community. And so I hope to bring that level of perspective and insight to a new position with the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jackie Day, I'm going to begin by asking you, what is your position on the advisory referendum from the county board, allowing the board to correspond with other boards about separating from Cook County to form a new state?
This is a great question. It's actually the reason I am running. I am against the referendum on our ballot. And the reason I am is because it does nothing. There's nothing prohibiting our county board from speaking to other counties. I think there is a big misconception in our county that all of our taxpayer money goes to Cook County. The reality is Cook County generates almost 80% of our tax revenue for the state. For every dollar they pay in taxes, they get 70 cents back. For every dollar Madison County pays in taxes, we get $1.42 back. With that money, we fund our roads and our fire departments and our police departments and our schools. Seceding from the state, creating a new state, or just leaving Cook County, it makes no sense to me. I think it is political posturing, and it's a waste of our taxpayer time and money. So that is something I'm definitely against. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jason Palmero, you are on the board. What is your position on the advisory referendum that came from the board to the ballot, allowing the board to correspond with other boards about separating from Cook County to form a new state?
Right, thank you. Yeah, so in regards to this, I have talked with many people about this. I'm personally all for the state of Illinois. I'm personally for us fixing our problems and solving our problems within the state. I think most of this is derived from the fact that majority of people, I think, down central, southern, southwestern Illinois don't necessarily get to have their opinion. A lot of it is just trickled down from whatever happens up north. Now, with that said, this was originally brought to the board as a right to, or as a non-binding referendum to be able to have our voice heard, okay? And with that voice heard, and this is what I've said before, it doesn't necessarily mean that that voice is actually for separating. That voice can actually be to not separate, okay? And I know we don't have to have a referendum to do that, but And I have went back and forth, you know, and in big politics, you talk about the flipping and the flopping, right? Okay, I have went back and forth so much with this particular thing just because I've told people, no, we're not doing this. Well, maybe we will be doing this. And I went back and forth. I had so many people contact me that were for this. I've had so many people that contacted me against this. And so ultimately, and I said this at the meeting, I'm not for non-binding necessarily either, but with this, nothing will happen, and regardless of a yes or no, and at least the people, since they were so adamantly, you know, boisterous about yes, we're for this, no, we're not for this, let the people go and vote on it. And the fact is that nothing is going to happen without us researching this way farther than where we're at.
Thank you. Does anybody want a minute for rebuttal? Would you like one, Jackie?
No.
Okay. All right. Jason, Madison County has been given $2.5 million in taxpayer COVID money to build a non-congregate homeless shelter. According to the state of Illinois, non-congregate shelters refer to emergency accommodations that offer privacy to individuals and families. They provide private units or rooms as temporary shelter and do not require occupants to sign a lease or occupancy agreement. Where would you suggest the county place the shelter, and who do you think should run it?
All right, this is a good question, and I have been involved with this. I personally did not like the way that this was presented to us and to the people of Alton originally. It was just kind of all of a sudden sprung on everybody. I'm not going to say most, but a lot of the residents didn't even know about what was going on. And it was kind of just brought to us as the county board to say, hey, there's gonna be an $8.5 million building getting built somewhere. And everybody kind of was like, hey, let's tap the brakes on this, okay? We're talking about a lot of money. We started listening to what was actually getting built. And there's nothing wrong with what was getting built. There are a lot of the ideas of it worked good. But I don't feel that the thought process, I'm one of those people that want to think about what's going on. I just don't want to just jump into something and nobody really knows what's going on and we hope that it works. The fact is that nobody was really doing that. And it felt like, to me personally, that people were just kind of trying to jump in because, like, this is my job. This is what I do. I'm here to open this facility. This is my job. I'm here to build that facility and get paid. And I didn't like that. And when it comes to families, I want to make sure they're safe. And that also means the families that are around them. Where are you going to put it is the question. I don't know necessarily, and that was kind of the point, is that we need to talk about this, discuss this further. I had a couple ideas of different places where I thought it should have been, possibly locate, right? And once again, I'm always one to talk about everything, and let's see. My idea might not be a great idea. It might be an awesome idea. We don't really know, right? We have different facilities that we own as counties, like our facility in our acreage that we have in Wood River. And I had mentioned that. We have that huge facility that we're talking about using, and that's just one area. So I know I got to stop right here, but I could keep going.
Okay.
I'll stop.
You'll have another minute if you want it.
Oh, no.
Let's ask Jackie. Madison County has been given $2.5 million in taxpayer COVID money to build a non-congregate homeless shelter. And again, non-congregate shelters refer to emergency accommodations that offer privacy. They provide private units or rooms as a temporary shelter and don't require occupants to sign a lease or occupancy agreement. Where would you suggest the county place the shelter, and who do you think should run it?
Thank you. That's a really great question. It's a very apt question because it came to the board and caused some discussion. Listen, the state wants to give us money, $2.5 million, to fill a need that our county has. We currently have no non-congregate housing. This is important. This is a real issue because that type of housing is for example, women who are trying to leave an abusive relationship that need a safe place to stay with their kids. In a congregate housing, that is a big room with cots. I would not want to take my daughter to that type of area. There was a proposal that was brought forward to the board for housing in Alton. Some research had been done. A actual building had been identified. A site had been identified. The cost of the work that needed to be done had been worked out. But midstream through that process, the board changed the guidance and determined for some reason that the proposals would be prioritized if they were within 5 miles of our administrative building here in Edwardsville. I don't think any other proposals have been put forth. I have not seen any on the agenda. I I don't think anybody else has a plan. But there is a plan before the board that happens to be in Alton that has a lot of this research already done. I think it's worth hearing out. If there are no other proposals, I don't want to forfeit that money. This is a need that our community has, and we should fill it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, do you want a minute for a rebuttal?
Yeah,
or-
sure.
Okay.
For sure. No, and I agree. And the fact is that this is built. There is going to be, the facility here was going to house, there was going to be, and I don't know the numbers right in front of me, but there was going to be more home style of 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom, maybe a family of 5, maybe a family of 2. With these families, we talk about kids, okay? When we talk about families and kids and these single mothers, maybe coming from an abusive family, we have to sit there and think about where this is being located, who's close by. I mean, we had, I believe there was a Section 8 housing that was right next to it or close by to it. We need to think about who's going to be at that facility at all times. We also have to think that this is the county. If the county's going to have some say in who goes in and out of it, we need to pump the brakes on it a little bit, and let's get a good location. I know there's the 5-mile radius right now, but at the same time, you know, if we have to make that radius a little wider or whatever, if we find a great place to put this, then so be it, you know.
Jackie, would you like a minute of a rebuttal?
I'll just quickly say that for those of us who live in the Edwardsville Glen Carbon community, we know what property taxes are here. We know how much land costs here. That money could go a lot further in Alton. The need is in Alton. There are other areas in our community too, for sure. I'm not saying that it should be the only place that's considered, but drawing that barrier around 5 miles radius of our administrative building, to me seems pejorative. It doesn't seem to have a purpose for that reason beyond ignoring the proposal that's already before the board. So I love the intentionality of your thought process and why you take the stand that you do. I feel like the community deserves to know why the brakes were pumped and what the next step is. How can we continue to move this forward?
Right.
Thank you. I believe it's your turn first, Jackie. What changes or improvements would you bring to the county board?
So this is another really great question. I really appreciate it. I also really appreciate that District 26 has the chance to answer these questions second, so we could hear what District 24 already said, so we have a little bit of a leg up, so thank you for that. There are some things that have come before the county board in the last 2 years, the last 4 years, that make no sense to me. And I know this is kind of answering the next question too about the non-binding resolutions, but that takes time. These county board positions are paid positions. I did not know that before I considered running for this position. That is our taxpayer money that is being wasted, in my mind, on frivolous partisan activities that are meant to gin up controversy or get people passionate, but really don't have a path forward, aren't leading to concrete actions. Madison County does have issues like any other community. And I think those are the ones that we should focus on, things that are actionable, things that we can do to make our community better for all of us. At the end of the day, win or lose, Jason and I both agreed before we came up here, we're gonna be neighbors, and we all care about our community. We all wanna get our community to a better place. So driving division and partisan politics for whatever reason doesn't seem to be productive to me. I want to hear about the issues in our community, and I want to work towards solutions. I wanna move from partisanship to partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jason, the same question. What changes or improvements would you bring to the county board?
Well, like I said, I'm fairly new myself here, right? I've been here less than 2 years. I will tell you that if anybody in this room got elected to a position, the first year there, you're trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, it just is what it is. You're getting used to everything. You're getting used to your committees. I think I brought a lot to this in a short amount of time, and I will continue to do so. The fact is that everybody has different ideas. Democrat, Republican, 2 Democrats can have different ideas. 2 Republicans can have different ideas. You can have 2 neighbors that completely disagree. You can have a neighbor that's on the opposite side of the aisle and agrees with you, okay? And everybody's always so passionate about it. You know, they talk about, don't talk about religion and politics, right? Well, people are passionate about it. That's how we are as Americans. When it comes down to what I'm gonna do when I get elected, hopefully, right? So I'm gonna continue to try to bring common sense to everything. I want to make, I have a lot from my background, whether it's, I've done search and rescue, law enforcement, real estate, small business. When it comes down to anything, my wife has been in the nursing home industry for over 20 years. When it comes down to our families, our communities, our kids, the safety of our community, our housing markets, I want to make sure that we're good to go as a community, Madison County, Glen Carbon. I want to make sure that, for instance, you brought up PTEL, okay? Just so everybody knows, I was one of the front runners on that. PTEL might be a whole different story for Madison County, and Jackie, for Glen Carbon specifically, if not for me, okay? I turned minds left and right about that because I knew it was not a good thing. Okay, I was part of that committee that we talked about, researching it. I want to do whatever I can for people of both sides of the aisle for our community because we're neighbors.
Okay, Jackie, would you like a minute of rebuttal?
I don't know if it's rebuttal so much as,
Yeah,
again,
another minute.
I appreciate your service. I did mention these are paid positions. It's not a living wage. This is a service to the community. So I appreciate the 2 years that you've already given. And again, the intentionality, the thought process you're putting behind things, I appreciate that. So again, thank you for your service.
Do you want another minute, Jason?
No, I just was saying, you know, I appreciate it as well.
Sure.
I never looked at when people say thank you for your service. If I wasn't getting older here, I'd be still there doing it, okay? I loved it. It was definitely not anything that I looked at that was like, you know, a hardship for me. I would do it completely all over again. And that's what I love at the county board here and with serving the community. I love the fact that we can get out there. My biggest issue, I think, with the county board is that this isn't a full-time position, to be quite honest. You know, I would be completely, I would probably completely love it if it was a full-time position and I could sit there in an office and deal with all these problems that we talk about all day long. You know, it's not, it's part-time and we do everything constantly. We're always on the go. It's a lot more than what people think. And there's a lot of committees and a lot of time with different stuff. We do work hard. I know everybody doesn't love everything we do, but it's like, and no matter who gets elected up here, they're going to think the same about everybody up here. Okay? It just is what it is. We're not perfect, and we're trying to do the best we can.
And here's the next question, really is the same thing you're saying. So how would you assess the Madison County Board's recent functioning? And what is your position on the time the Madison County Board spends on voting on non-binding resolutions?
Is this me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, so, you know, once again, I can tell you this, we spend more time on binding resolutions, that's for sure, because just like we talked about with PTEL, because that means that if the voters are not informed correctly, then they vote yes or no to something, and it's in stone. It's in stone. I can tell you this, when we ask this question, though, about how much time we actually spend on non-binding resolutions, that's a little exaggerated because in 2 years, we've worked on one that I remember. I don't think we've had any others, I don't believe, since I've been here. And when it comes down to it, I know people aren't a fan of the non-binding. I know other people are a fan of the non-binding because it gets their voice and their opinion heard. You know, the fact is that if 90% of our county on a non-binding resolution voted for something, that might mean that all of us, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't make a difference. We need to look into whatever they're feeling passionate about. You know, we have to look into it, regardless of whether we disagree with it or not. We're here still to serve. So I don't really think that we spend a ton of time on non-binding resolutions. Like I said, I didn't spearhead this resolution. I don't think we also spend tons of time on this either. Okay, so I don't want to exaggerate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jackie, how would you assess the Madison County Board's recent functioning? And as a sub-question, what is your position on the time the Madison County Board spends on voting on non-binding resolutions?
Thank you. Again, this is why I'm running. So I looked into this just to get some more information on our non-binding resolutions. In the past few years, we have had our county board vote on a resolution to accuse President Biden of violating his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws. At the same time that on a national level, we were shutting down the bipartisan plan for immigration. Also, I don't know that President Biden cares about a non-binding resolution from Madison County, Illinois, saying you're not doing your job, but that's just me. We have had non-binding resolutions on our local school districts, allowing the students the choice on whether or not to wear a mask, even though that is not the purview of the county board, that's our school board. We have had non-binding resolutions approving Madison County as a sanctuary county for guns, and non-binding resolutions disapproving of any county in Illinois as a sanctuary city for people. Pro-gun, anti-people, non-binding resolutions. Again, these seem to be specifically driven to drive controversy and political emotions. These issues, because they're controversial, come up at multiple meetings, and they're brought up again and again. They're brought up at subcommittee meetings as well. And so all that time is cumulative, and it's not one person, it's everybody involved in those conversations, their salaries, their time that could be spent on issues that truly matter to our community and have actionable items that we could be addressing. I'm very disappointed in these. I think we need to do better for our community.
Jason, would you like to take another minute?
Yeah, sure. Maybe not even just a minute, but just really quick. You know, a lot of this wasn't with me. When I came to this board, there was issues going on. Okay, so I got kind of thrown into the fire with everything, and I believe wholeheartedly that we can talk about things of the past all we want, but the county board is moving in the right direction 100%, and we have moved along, and in November we're going to have a new county chairman. We just have, I think, a lot more unity within the board as a whole, and it's getting better and better and better. Once again, most of this was before I even got there. Like I said, I kind of got thrown in the fire with all this. And so I agree. I want to be able to solve the problems that reflect us in Madison County here and the people that live here, because this is why we're doing this. We're not running for governor or president here. We're running for the people here in our community.
And Jackie, do you want another minute?
Again, probably not a rebuttal, but just I agree with you. I think we can do better. I think in some cases we are doing better. The county board meeting in August opened and closed within 12 minutes. Everything passed unanimously. People are working together and trying to do better for our community. But these things do keep cropping up. And so my pledge and the reason I'm running is that I will be laser focused on actionable items and not partisan politics. I want to work together to move our community forward.
Yeah.
Last question, Jackie. Evidence-based funding ensures that as new state dollars become available, they flow first to school districts that need them most. How will you work to improve funding to schools in our region?
Okay, this is music to my ears. You said evidence-based funding. I am a scientist by profession. I love data-driven decisions. And the data for our community is, data is a plural word. For those of you who don't know, it's one of my pet peeves. Data for our community are pretty stark about our test scores, our Illinois standing since the pandemic. We have not recovered from the pandemic issues yet, the way that other communities similar to ours have. I do think, even though we are a more prosperous community than a lot of other communities in Illinois, we still have issues, and the data are in that we need to address them. I have a daughter who's here. Thank you for coming. And she's in our school district. I think our school district would benefit from getting funding, and there are different ways to address that. This is a very digital world now, and I think that we need to shift our focus so that we are hitting these kids where they are and how they learn, and really growing them and setting them up for a successful future. So the data are in, and we can use those data to point to ways that our community could use that money. So I would appreciate having the time to look into it and help drive those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jason, evidence-based funding ensures that as new state dollars become available, they flow first to school districts that need the most. How will you work to improve funding to schools in our region?
Well, I think that that's the key, some of the key words right there. Or if you can repeat that real quick for me.
Evidence-based funding ensures that as new state dollars become available, they flow first to school districts that need them most.
Right, so right there, school districts that need them the most, I think that's the very first thing that I would, because I'm not familiar with what that entails. I'm not sure the definition of that. So one of the very first things that I would be doing was looking into that. My background is business, okay? I want to make sure that if we're allowed to get money, that we do. I want to make sure that if we're getting skipped over, why are we getting skipped over? Because just like Jackie, I have two children in school as well in District 7 here. I have one in high school, I have one in middle school, and I firsthand, same thing, I see firsthand that there is things that are slipping, and I see it constantly. I want our school district to do better. I really do. And look, I have family with teachers, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming an administration. I'm not blaming teachers. I'm not blaming the parents. I'm not blaming anybody. But I think that we definitely need to do better. And I would love to be able to help out with that. When it comes down to a lot of what we do through the county, it's not, we don't have like 100% say in what goes on here. So it's not like I can just sit there as a board member and say, hey, just, Edwardsville High School, this is what you're going to be doing. It's not like that. So I think that if we can get money to help our children and to better our district, once again, as a realtor, okay, you base your housing around that great school district, correct? So when I want that school district to be awesome, and not only for my kids, but for the community and for our neighborhoods, our subdivisions. And I don't know like exactly those stipulations like you mentioned on, are we getting passed by? I don't know. And so that right there would be the very first thing I would work on so we can bring it to our district home for our kids.
Jackie, were you looking for another minute?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excellent points. I would like to point out that we have, for the Edwardsville School District in particular, we have pretty amazing representation at the state level here. I know you guys are going to meet Katie later. She's fighting every day to bring money back to our community, and I appreciate that, and that is benefiting our school district. We have other school districts in our county. I know I focus on Edwardsville School District because that's where I am, that's where I live, that's where our district is, that's where our kids are. But there are other school districts in our county that are not getting that same level of support from their current representation, bringing money back to their communities. So this isn't a rebuttal. I think we're in pretty good agreement here. It's a thank you to Katie for what she does for our community.
And Jason, would you like
And
another
yeah, that's
minute?
true. Not really rebuttaling here, but it's true. Yes, we're only bringing up D7 because our kids go there, but the fact is, it's the whole county here. Whether you're in Collinsville, you're in Triad, you're in Alton, it doesn't make a difference. Whatever our communities, it's not just D7. It might not be any of our school districts in here, in our county. And that's what we really need to focus on to make sure our children get everything that they deserve.
Thank you so much to the candidates, viewers, and audience. We have been hearing from candidates for County Board Member District 24, Cheryl Hagerty and Fred Schulte, and then candidates for County Board Member District 26, Jackie Day and Jason Palmero. I'd like to thank you all very much for your willingness to answer questions. Thank you.